Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today, and Mr. Don King is in the house.
We sure do, and I always learn something from our two guests today. Dan and Tabitha, we're excited to have them here, and it's that time of year too, and the subject matter is going to be really important to deer hunters for the upcoming season.
Yeah, we're getting close to deer season, and this is a topic that is it doesn't come around every year. It's not as it's not something we cover a lot, so it's going to be a good show to talk about today. And Tabitha's first time on the show.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll treat her right. I promise. Yeah. I did learn a new word previous to the show.
Okay.
Viremic. And I'm sure it'll probably come up, during our session here. So just write that one down and be listening for it.
All right, I like it. You got a radio station?
Yeah, radio station 93.9 The Duck in Lynchburg. And we can be heard there Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. So we appreciate the Duck and all our other radio partners around the state.
Yeah, we sure do. We appreciate them. Appreciate you guys out there watching and listening. Subscribe, like, share the show, and just keep coming back. And we appreciate it. So today we have Tabitha Lavico with us. She's our Region 2 species biologist. It's her first time on the show, so welcome in.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We were talking before the show. I was like, you've been on before, right? No, it's been not something you have done before. So anyway, glad to have you here. And then Dan, he's an old pro. He's
been here a few times.
Yeah, been here a few times. So he's our wildlife veterinarian for TWRA, and he's the associate professor for School of Natural Resources, right?
That's correct.
Or one of, right?
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys being here. And today's topic is not something we cover a lot, but it's that time of year. It's summer. Things are dry, or moving into the fall, but things are dry. And hemorrhagic disease is showing its face this year, and we're going to learn all about that and what it is and how we can compare it to what CWD is and then what blue tongue is and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, I'm out. I'll leave it to you, Dan.
Well, that's an easy task, right? So we kind of anticipated, based on the wet spring this year, if it did start to dry out, that we might see a hemorrhagic disease outbreak. And that's exactly what's happening here in Middle Tennessee, is probably where it's worst hit so far, with 6 counties confirmed. And then we've also got a couple counties in Western Tennessee, Shelby County and Humphreys County, I believe.
Okay.
And so hemorrhagic disease is that one that prior to CWD we used to talk about a lot, because about every 4 to 7 years we'd see an outbreak. And that's the one where this time of year you see a bunch of dead deer, usually near a watering hole, because they are running a fever, so they're going to go towards water. But the problem is the little midge that actually spreads this virus lives in that same area around that watering hole. And so it just kind of helps to kick the cycle and get going. And so we'll see this time of year hopefully not huge, but a lot of times you'll see
significant anyway.
Yeah, 10, 15, 20 deer potentially on a given property, or just a handful here and there. But ultimately it is a virus. There's a bunch of different viruses that can cause it. We call it hemorrhagic disease because it actually does cause little hemorrhages, little bleeding throughout the body. But ultimately, either epizootic hemorrhagic disease virus or blue tongue virus can cause hemorrhagic disease. We can't distinguish based on clinical signs, those things that we can see with our eyes, what the disease is.
Okay.
We actually have to submit samples from those animals to actually figure out which one of the viruses it might actually be.
Well, you touched on it, but 2007 was our most recent large breakout, right? Is that true?
That one was the last statewide outbreak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there's been signs in different parts of the state from year to year. You see a little bit, right?
Yeah, we've had small localized outbreaks since 2007, but 2007 was the largest for Region 2 and statewide. the last big one we had.
Yeah. So you're dealing with the heat of it, I guess, right now.
Yes.
Getting the calls and all that kind of stuff. So remind folks what counties you're seeing this in, and so if they see it, they'll know, this is normal or what they should expect, that kind of thing, not to freak out.
Well, it is normal because it naturally occurs here in the southeast. So it's something that we see a little bit every summer. You might have one or two deer, or like this year, we'll have a large outbreak, unfortunately. But we're seeing it primarily Sumner. Wilson is getting hit hard. We've had positives in Giles, in Wayne, Franklin County. I know there's some in Marshall, and between Marshall down to Giles. So there's several, and I'm sure there's some counties, and Williamson, I think, is another one. There's some other counties that's probably going to have some positives that we may not be able to get samples, because typically the deer need to be fairly fresh within the last 12 hours, but I prefer it a little bit sooner because the virus can die out and that can't be tested for, or it can be tested for, but it won't show up.
Right.
But once everybody starts hunting, getting out into the woods a little more and scouting, we'll probably hear about some more cases that we may not know of right now.
Yeah. So real quick before we get too much deeper into the hemorrhagic disease, how does this compare to CWD? It's not, right?
No, they're two completely different things. Hemorrhagic disease, what we're talking about today, is caused by a virus, and CWD is caused by a prion, which is just an abnormal protein. CWD is 100% fatal, whereas hemorrhagic disease, sometimes animals can survive from it. That's why we see these infrequent large outbreaks, because the animals that do survive actually pass that immunity along to their young. And so you'll actually get a couple of generations of immune animals as a result of what we see this year for the animals that survive.
Okay.
And other animals that survive, we might see some thin animals going into winter, because right now, if they're running a fever, they're not eating, they're not getting all those resources in. Other things that if you're out hunting and you harvest an animal, if you look and see like deep grooves or sloughing hooves, that's an indicator that that animal probably had the disease at some point in time this fall. The disease, one thing I forgot to mention earlier, hemorrhagic disease nor CWD, they're not contagious to people that we're aware of at this point in time. But with hemorrhagic disease, they are running a fever. So if you're harvesting animals and they're already hot, take that into consideration. We don't ever recommend that you harvest and consume a sick-looking animal, but if you see a sick-looking animal, go ahead and remove it from the landscape, and we can actually do diagnostics to determine if it's CWD or hemorrhagic disease at that point in time.
Yeah, and I think the smart thing, if you don't feel comfortable eating it, don't eat it, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's good advice.
I learned something today.
Yeah.
Also, earlier today, we were talking about how HD can't be spread animal to animal. It has to have the midge as the host, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So just because animals are interacting, they're right now the family units or bachelor herds are still together. If one of them gets it, you have to have the midge in order to, it has to bite the infected one, then to spread it to the unaffected one. So ultimately what causes a break in the disease cycle for us is going to be a frost that actually kills off. So the first couple of hard frosts usually do away with the midge for this season. And so we'll actually see a decrease in the amount of disease at that point in time. Or if we get like a flooding event or something like that, that washes away the areas where they breed in the mud and stuff along the waterways.
Okay.
And even though the hard frost does kill it off, the midges, if they were bitten just before that hard frost, we may see symptomatic deer past that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that hard frost, will it kill it off completely out of that midge, I guess is how you would word that, or...
If it kills the midge, yes.
Okay, yeah.
But
it doesn't live in the ground somewhere, or
Not that we're aware of at this point.
Yeah.
There's still portions of that life cycle that aren't fully understood. But if there are, like Tabitha mentioned, if there's a sick deer still in the landscape that's viremic, has virus, actually live virus, actually fill your bingo card out. If you actually have live virus still in that animal, because deer can maintain that virus for about 2 months. So if you get another warm up and the midge come back out, and there is a sick animal still out there, or at least an animal that has the virus in it still, it could actually start another outbreak. North Carolina, I want to say about a decade ago, in the middle of January, had a hemorrhagic disease outbreak because they experienced a really warm cycle, and midge came out, and there was enough animals still from the fall's outbreak that led to an outbreak. So we could see that here in Tennessee too, just with all the crazy winter that we've had where we get cold and then it gets warm, cold and warm.
Yeah.
We could see a little bit of cycling, but at a much smaller scale. Usually the large scale that we're seeing right now tends to occur in kind of this August to early October time period.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then just for clarity, blue tongue, the difference there.
It's just it's another virus in the hemorrhagic disease group of viruses. So blue tongue and epizootic hemorrhagic disease virus, clinically they're the same. It's just genetically they're a little bit different, but they cause all the same signs in the animals, and they just tend to. It's just how they evolved, over time, and they tend to, like, if you're going to be susceptible to it, you can be susceptible to either one of the viruses.
Okay.
So, and at this point, we have had confirmations of both viruses here in Tennessee.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to Tabitha real quick. So if folks find a deer on their property, what do we want them to do?
First thing we want them to do is to report it on our website under the sick deer report.
Okay.
That way it shows us where these deer are popping up on the landscape, gives us an idea where disease might be starting to flourish, and keep track of them. Basically, just to listen to this podcast and learn about hemorrhagic disease, I am one person in 25 counties for the most part responding to these calls. I try to respond with some information through an email. I may send you if I think it's hemorrhagic disease, but we can't be at every animal to collect a sample. We are trying to get at least a handful from each county so that we can document it. Mm-hmm. So if you have a fresh dead animal, deer, and want to let us know in your sick deer report, we need to be within 12 hours or less to collect that sample, then we can confirm it. But I can't guarantee that somebody can get to you all the time. And if you find a dead deer on your property, you need to just leave it on your property. It's the best in a disease situation so that if it is something else, we don't spread it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But you're responsible for that deer. As an agency, we don't collect dead deer and remove it from the property. There are companies out there through Animal Damage Control, which is also a website we have that can direct you to companies that can remove it if you need that service.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so tnwildlife.org is our website. Under the wildlife tab, just scroll down there. You'll see report wildlife encounters. But under that tab, we've got links for reporting sick deer, and there's also tabs there for bear and turkey and different things. So check that out. And then under the law enforcement tab is where we house the wildlife damage control information, and that's all right there at your fingertips at tnwildlife.org. And yeah, just to remind people, we're a relatively small agency for as big as the state is, and people on the ground, we can't collect all those deer. We can't be at every site, but you can help us. The public can help us by just send us that sick deer report so we know and kind of have an idea where things are happening.
Yes, and there are other people that I can utilize to collect samples. Don't get me wrong, but I have to facilitate that through those people when they're available in those locations.
Yeah.
And so, I do send out people either from our wildlife management area, sometimes a wildlife officer. We have some part-time CWD folks that I send out if I'm not available. So we are scrambling and trying to get those, but the time sensitivity also plays into it.
Yeah, 12 hours makes it pretty quick.
Yeah, and knowing when that animal, if you find the dead animal, you don't know when it died. And especially if it's bloated, it's pretty much too late, especially with the hot weather that we had. It's not as bad now, but the cooler the weather, the longer the time frame is for us to get to it.
Because they are running a fever, they tend to actually rot a little bit faster because they're hotter whenever they...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that. So if you harvest a deer in the season and it's got the fever, or you can see signs, you said cool it down as quick as possible, get it processed as quick as possible, or don't eat it, if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, those are your best options as always, because we're assuming that based on clinical signs, that's what it is, but without actually taking a sample and testing it, we don't know, because it could be something else that we're not aware of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. WMAs. Are you seeing anything on WMAs in your area? Any deer?
Really? Yeah, actually, Lawrence County, which you talked about '07, it was hit really hard in '07.
Okay.
But I've had some reports of them finding some deer in the lake. So that's pretty classic. I haven't been able to take any samples over there yet because they've been found too late. But yeah, Laurel Hill's going to have a few.
Okay.
And that's the only one that I've really heard of that's found any yet so far.
So if you're out there scouting, let us know.
Yes, please.
Send us the report, or stop by the shop there on some of the properties if somebody's there to.
Or if
take
you're
that.
hunting, go by the check station.
Yeah.
Because annually they ask us for a report of, a loose number of how many deer that we thought may have had hemorrhagic disease, and then of course we have the positives that we send off to the lab that we report on as well.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a chart on our website. I think it's being updated right now, but we'll have a chart out there that shows the difference between EHD and CWD and those kinds of things. I saw that floating around being reviewed and make sure it's right and correct, but we'll have that up on our website for folks to review. But let's just switch gears just a little bit and talk about CWD. We're they're still sampling for CWD throughout the state, right?
Yes.
Still surveillance monitoring. Am I correct on that? Okay.
Yeah, we're surveillance where we don't know we have it, and monitoring where we do know we have it.
Okay.
So we are collecting samples through the normal process that we have for the last 4 or 5 years, using our processors and taxidermists, and then also check stations on opening of muzzle loader and opening of rifle gun.
Okay. Yeah, the freezer drop-off opportunities are still there. Our website has all that information, tnwildlife.org. So visit that website to find those locations if you want to have your deer tested. So remind folks what counties that you're seeing it, Tabitha, just so folks know and keep an eye out. I know we mentioned it earlier, but remind folks what counties those are in.
The ones that I know of, Sumner, Wilson, Franklin, Marshall, Giles, Lawrence, Murray's had some, and Bedford,
Wayne and
Williamson,
Humphreys and Shelby.
And that's all the hemorrhagic disease, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's more. It's
Yeah.
just, I get it word of mouth and checking the sick deer reports is how I find out too,
Yeah.
as well as talking to officers and WMA managers.
Yeah.
I'd anticipate at the opening of Bow that we'll get an explosion of reports.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's right around the corner. I know folks are getting excited about that. And it's deer season, it's football season, and it's time to be wearing your orange or your blaze pink this year. So you can wear your blaze pink if you'd rather. Well, we got a few minutes here. Anything else going on? What's the crews doing in Region 2 out working on the WMAs and things like that?
Well, most of them are just preparing for deer season. They've been putting out a few food plots and just getting ready for Laurel Hill. Got her quota hunts going on, and then of course we have our statewide WMAs that are going on. Me and my crew, we're getting ready for deer season and for picking up chronic wasting disease samples at the freezers, going by processors, just like what Dan was talking about, getting schedules together for the check stations that we're going to collect from. And we usually have somewhere around 9 to 10 check stations here in Middle Tennessee that we set up at processors to collect samples at those check stations. So if you're interested in coming by any of those, you can contact us and we can let you know where we'll be. We're scattered across the region. But other than that, we do have a few freezers set out where you can drop your head off and we'll send those in and get them tested and you'll be notified.
Cool. Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities. Middle Tennessee has got all kinds of WMAs and places to hunt and opportunity, youth hunts and things going on. Check our GoOutdoorsTennessee.com website for the events and things like that. There's always a youth hunt popping up here and there, and it's whether it's deer or squirrel or big game, small game. It's a great time of year to be outside and. So yeah, check those out and all that fun stuff. Dan, what's going on in your world? Anything new happening in the wildlife disease and things that you're working with? You mentioned something before the show. I don't know if you want to touch on it, but it was...
Well, yeah, you'll probably hear more about it if you haven't already. If you're in livestock or domestic agriculture, New World screwworm is working its way back up. We had eradicated it from the United States, or by the end of the 90s, early 2000s, had gotten it all the way down to where it was just in South America. Over the last 2 or 3 years, it's made its way back up, and so you might have heard there was a human case of somebody who had traveled to Central America, and they actually got the disease down there and brought it back up with them. But we're gearing up for the potential that disease might make its way back into the United States right now. And that's would be a negative thing for both wildlife and domestic animals. So more so for the domestic animal side of things, it could mean billions of dollars of losses to livestock if that disease makes its way back in. So that's another reason why if you see odd or sick looking animals, get a photo of it and report it in. That'll help us kind of figure out any of the disease we've talked about today, or potentially any new diseases that might be making their way into the state.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, don't forget that option is out there to report sick deer. tnwildlife.org. Like I said, go into the wildlife tab, select report wildlife encounters, and that's where you can do that. And that'll help us out a lot and help out our biologists and folks on the ground doing the hard work out there. So we appreciate the work that they do. Just trying to think if there's anything else that we're missing that we want to make sure we cover for today.
Hey, one thing we want to kind of tout is the Biodiversity Summit coming up October 22nd at MTSU. Statewide, but it just so happens that it does happen in Region 2 here. And it's going to be a lot of really good information shared about from the speakers that will be presenting. And there might even be an announcement or two that are pretty exciting for wildlife in Tennessee.
Yeah, no doubt. I know, Mimi Barnes and Ashley Garrison and the Biodiversity crew.
Yeah.
Josh Campbell and Chris Simpson and all them up there. They're excited about it and working really hard. And it's for everybody. It's not just for the non-game folks. It's for hunters and anglers and everybody who enjoys wildlife. It'll be a great conference. I know they're hoping to reach about 300 or so people to register, and it's going fast. So GoOutdoorsTennessee.com is how you register for that, or you can go to tnwildlife.org and get all the details about the events of that day. But they're talking mussels, they're talking crayfish, they're talking birds, all kinds of fun stuff. Like I said, maybe some cool announcements there, and it's one of a kind. I know Mimi helped build out a conference like this or this summit, in Ohio when she worked out there.
Yep.
So it's very similar to that, but it's going to be a good time for folks, and it's great for college students too. Being right there on MTSU's campus, they can join in and check it out. So it's for anybody and everybody to come check it out. So
and that's a free event, correct?
No.
Oh, it is not
free.
Okay.
No, but it has been
almost.
Yeah, we've had great partners, great sponsors, and while we're talking about it, I'll pull it up.
I think it includes lunch too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it does.
That's what I was wondering. I figured we should mention that. A little bit of a charge.
So I should have pulled this up earlier so we could go through it. But the keynote speaker is Roger McCoy. So that's a cool addition there for keynote. But sponsors, we got Bridgestone, TVA, the Greg Vital Center, Nature Conservancy. So a lot of cool sponsors who have made this happen so that the cost can be, smaller.
Right.
So I think it's $50 for a general admission. You get a light breakfast, lunch, and a snack and all that. And then student registration is $25. So, those, that's minimal for an event like this. So thanks to our sponsors for pulling all that together and helping us launch this inaugural event, and hopefully one that will continue for years to come. But yeah, so check it out. And there's T-shirts. If you want to buy a T-shirt, you can get one of those to help sponsor and things like that. So yeah, good stuff. I'm excited about it. So you'll hear from our biologist. You'll hear from Josh upstairs.
Yes,
the chief of the division, and it'll be good stuff. So, well, as we wrap up here, just remind folks that if you encounter a dead deer on your property, to notify us, right? To have
That's right.
let us know about it. We want to, if we can get there, we will. and do a test on it, take a sample and run it. But it's one of those things that happens. It comes through every so often, and
Biggest thing is just for them to know that it's out there right now, and we don't know until we test something exactly what it's died from. But at this time of year, like Dan said, more than likely that's what you're going to find, especially if it's in or near water.
Right.
But we do, when we can, want to get out and sample the deer, collect tissues, get it sent off, and just verify that. But we do know it's in the area, and it's something you can expect to see right now.
yeah. No, we love to interact with the public when we can and help them.
Oh, definitely.
And so we appreciate you letting us know and calling us and especially making those reports so we can get out there and check it if we can.
Yeah.
So, and just remember, don't eat a sick deer if you don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, you may see signs of the hooves like you talked about and things like that. So if you harvest a deer, if it looks sick, it's best to take it off the landscape, but don't eat it if you don't feel comfortable. So.
And also, if it's survived and it does have the signs that it has survived the disease, and it doesn't appear to be sick at the time. As Dan said, it may be a little less weight to it. If it hasn't been able to get the right amount of nourishment over the past couple of months or something. So,
But it survived.
yeah, yeah. And that's the difference between that one and that CWD.
There is some immunity.
Yeah.
Well, again, appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for the work that y'all do and the teams that y'all have under you guys out there working in the field. And couldn't do it without you all and the other 700 something employees we have across the state. So it's a great agency to work for, and I feel like they do really good work. And we just appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Well, this is Tennessee Wildcast, and we appreciate y'all tuning in for watching and listening. We got more shows like this coming down the pike. We'll be talking more deer coming up and things like that. Got a great wrap up for the season, and then we'll jump into 2026. Only a few months left in this year.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Flying by.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you guys. Thank you all out there for watching and listening. This is Tennessee Wildcast, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Join us as we celebrate 75 years of conservation in our great state. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.